This video is called That Damn Cell Phone. You know why it's called that? Because that cell phone is your kid's drug dealer. Especially if they have a smartphone. That's like the Netflix of drug dealing. If they got a smartphone, that is literally drugs on demand. Cell phone is the central issue for like teenagers and college kids in recovery. If they're trying to get sober and they're living at home or they're just out of a treatment center, the cell phone is going to be the big thing. It's going to be the first thing that they want back. And I understand it. But here's what I'd say. If your kid got in big trouble, and they totally deserved it and they got the cell phone taken away, you just keep that way as long as possible. What we have found is kids without cell phones can actually have a chance of getting clean. If you can keep that cell phone, you keep that cell phone. If, they've been good and they really need to have their cell phone, I get it. Eventually they need a cell phone. Transition the phone back. Sometimes I know kids will hate me for this, but sometimes they might just need an old school flip phone and not a smartphone that has every kind of sneaky app that they can be Snapchatting and secret messaging and vaulting, any kind of whatever. Plus all the social media on the cell phone is just such a trigger. So even if they're not trying to be sketchy and they're just looking at Facebook, I'm not telling you to absolutely tell your teenager or young adult that they can't look at social media, but what I am telling you is it's just hard for them. They're looking at everybody else doing everything and they feel left out and they're like, why am I weird? Why'd this happen to me? The heck, I'm not even 21, I can't drink yet, stuff like that. So the cell phone is just a trigger in every single way. I usually see addicts and alcoholics here. I'm usually the defense attorney and I all the time lawyer for my person to get a phone back because hey, who doesn't need a phone or want a phone? If you can, maybe you want to give them a flip phone. Or maybe if they've had their phone taken or they're just out of treatment, maybe you want to sort of slowly transition that phone back. Maybe say, well, you can have it during the day, but you have to plug it in the kitchen at night. You don't have to say, it has to be in our bedroom, whatever, but it needs to be somewhere that they don't have access to and it can be charging. You may also want to say, yeah, you can have your cell phone, but I'm just telling you now, you have to give me your passcode to get in your cell phone. And if they don't give you the passcode to get in the cell phone, then you can just go online and turn the phone off if you need to. And you can say, and your cell phone, if you're using a cell phone and I'm paying for it, then it is subject to be searched. Now, in general, I really don't encourage parents to go at situations like that. If your kid's a good kid, or if your kid really has worked hard to earn some trust, and they've been doing good a while, don't do that. But if your kid is in a really vulnerable situation and you really just don't think that they can keep themselves safe or make good decisions, then sometimes as a parent, you have to get in there and make a decision based on safety, more important than other decisions. So you may want to totally claim rights to search that cell phone. You may want to give them a flip phone. You may want to hold that phone away from them as long as humanly possible without putting them over the edge. They have to have a phone eventually. The other thing to consider if they have a phone is if they're a young adult and they're in a halfway or recovery house. If there's no rules about cell phones, I do suggest that they get their cell phone back sometime during the course of treatment if that's a possibility, because they need to learn how to have that privilege. It's the same as I'm going to talk about in the driving, but they need to learn how to manage that, and if they can learn to do that in a structured, supportive environment, that will help, as opposed to your kid gets out of treatment completely, they get the cell phone, they get the car, they get all these privileges back at once. That's the recipe for disaster. Be very careful and make wise decisions about that cell phone. Drug dealer. Cell phone.